Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the top stories we have lined up for you today. A former Canadian Olympian who was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list has been arrested in Mexico. Plus, there are long lines to sign the Alberta Prosperity Project's petition on separation, and the U.S. Treasury Secretary is sharing his thoughts on the issue. And it's National Non-Smoking Week. We tell you about a program to help Albertans butt out.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks so much for joining us. A former Canadian Olympic snowboarder turned drug kingpin has been arrested in Mexico. FBI Director Kash Patel made the announcement today in Ontario, California.
Today, we are announcing a capture of another FBI's most wanted top 10 fugitive, Ryan Wedding.
FBI officials say 44-year-old Ryan Wedding was taken into custody Friday. He's accused of running a drug trafficking operation, and officials say he orchestrated several killings to further the drug crimes. Wedding was charged in 2024 with running a drug ring that used semi-trucks to move cocaine between Colombia, Mexico, Southern California, and Canada. In November, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that Wedding had also been indicted on charges of orchestrating the killing of a witness in Colombia to help him avoid extradition to the U.S.
I want to say this to Mr. Wedding and to the other defendants involved in his drug trafficking organization. Your days are numbered.
8 Canadians were arrested in November as part of the ongoing investigation into Wedding, including an Ontario lawyer accused of advising the murder of a federal witness and a jeweler who U.S. authorities allege was the de facto bank for the criminal enterprise. The RCMP have said that Wedding faces separate drug trafficking charges in Canada that date back to 2015. Bone-chilling cold warnings are sweeping the country. Environment Canada has warned of several weather conditions in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and most of northern Ontario that could cause significant disruption or health impacts. The weather agency says it could feel as low as minus 50 degrees Celsius in those areas. The rest of Ontario and most of Quebec won't get much relief yet as an Arctic air mass hovers over the region. Beginning tomorrow, all of New Brunswick is expected to see temperatures in the minus 30s. And this bitterly cold winter weather is going to impact the eastern two-thirds of the United States. Texas and Oklahoma are bracing for heavy snow and ice that could make roadways treacherous today.
Where I am, in Detroit, Michigan, that dangerous cold is already being felt as this system pushes frigid air deeper into the Midwest. Today, it's in the single digits. Along with the cold, the storm is expected to bring heavy snow, freezing rain, and sleet, with some areas seeing over a foot of snow and up to half an inch of ice. That much ice can crush trees and power lines and lead to long-lasting power outages. Now, city and states are rushing to prepare. Hundreds of flights were delayed or canceled ahead of the storm, with major airports like Dallas-Fort Worth, Atlanta, Memphis, and Charlotte in its path. And schools across multiple states have already canceled classes or moved online.
Authorities say the storm is threatening catastrophic damage. 16 states have already declared emergencies. It's been 3 weeks since a petition was launched to get separation on the ballot in Alberta, and Albertans are still showing up in big numbers to sign. Citizens in Stony Plain, west of Edmonton, were met with long lines Thursday when the doors opened around lunchtime, with some waiting more than an hour.
Alberta leaving Confederation, listen. Alberta didn't turn right. Canada went left. That's the issue. And the alienation and the abuse. Federal politicians, they actually think that they can do as they please and that no one will say anything. Well, maybe that's true out in Quebec and Ontario. I'm not sure. But here in Alberta, we're a different breed. We're a different culture. We're not accustomed to sitting on our thumbs and twiddling them, you know? We're accustomed to getting things done. The question I have is, how much abuse can you put up with?
Well, obviously we came here to sign because we want Alberta to be independent, to finally have its say as to how we move forward with our economy and make us strong again. And I truly believe that Alberta could be one of the richest countries in the world if left alone. I've always been proud to be a Canadian. I love to be a Canadian. But I don't believe that I can stay a part of Canada anymore because it's just not the same anymore. It just isn't the same.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent commented on Alberta's separatist movement today, making him the highest-ranking member of the Trump administration to weigh in on the province's politics. While appearing on the right-wing station Real America's Voice, Bessent claimed Canada won't let Alberta build a pipeline to the Pacific, adding, quote, "I think we should let them come down into the U.S." Bessent says there's a rumor that they may have a referendum on whether they may stay in Canada or not. Of course, he's talking about Alberta. His comments come after U.S. President Donald Trump rescinded the invitation for Canada to take part in his Board of Peace following Prime Minister Mark Carney's speech at the World Economic Forum. Heading into day 2 of a cabinet retreat in Quebec, Prime Minister Carney did not stop to answer reporters' questions about the invitation to the Board of Peace being rescinded by Trump. But Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand did reiterate Canada's stance on Gaza.
Hamas should have no role in the future governance of Palestine. Hamas must demilitarize and disarm. There must be a ceasefire, and Israelis and Palestinians must be able to live in peace and security side by side. We will continue with humanitarian aid. We've put on the table approximately $400 million in humanitarian aid. That has been a priority of mine and ours in this government, and we will continue with that process without question. I am constantly in touch with my G7 counterparts, and we will continue to ensure that Canada does whatever possible to ensure that humanitarian aid flows and that there is a ceasefire that is maintained and that Hamas disarmed.
In other news, thousands of pro-life supporters gathered in Washington, D.C. Friday for the annual March for Life. Vice President J.D. Vance seized the moment to make an announcement.
Today, our administration is proud to announce a historic expansion of the Mexico City policy. We're going to start blocking every international GO that performs or promotes abortion abroad from receiving $1 of U.S. money. We have made tremendous strides over the last year, and we're going to continue to make strides over the next 3 years to come. But I'm a realist. I know that there is still much road ahead to travel together. Take heart in how far we've come, but don't lose sight of why we marched. And so long as you are out there marching for life, I hope you know that the Vice President of the United States will march with you. God bless you all, and thanks for having me.
Pope Leo XIV sent a message to participants in today's rally, telling them to continue striving to ensure that life is respected in all of its stages. Former Mount Royal University professor Francis Widdowson has been arrested yet again on a university campus. Widdowson and one BC party leader, Dallas Brody, had arranged an event Thursday outside UBC's Indian Residential School History and Dialogue Center. Brody has challenged claims that First Nations children are buried at the old Kamloops Residential School, while Widdowson has written the books Disrobing the Aboriginal Industry and Indigenizing the University. When the pair and some supporters arrived on campus, they were vastly outnumbered by counter-protesters. Widdowson was carried from the scene by an RCMP officer and placed in a police cruiser and driven away, while Brody and her followers were herded into the UBC Aquatic Center by police and taken from the scene by bus. UBC says organizers of the event did not go through its booking process and were escorted off the property by law enforcement. Widowson was later released with no charges laid. She was arrested last month in Victoria while conducting another unsanctioned event on a campus that also led to a clash with counter-protesters. January 18th to the 24th is National Non-Smoking Week across the country. Canadians are encouraged to kick the habit. In recent years, Alberta has seen about a 40% drop in adults who smoke, but medical officer of health, Dr. Jason Sabai, says there is concern about kids and the growing popularity of vaping.
There is a perception out there that it is safe and, certainly preferable to smoking products that have a lot of carcinogens and chemicals in. There are some aspects of vaping that are safer, but certainly not risk-free. And the potential for dependence on nicotine, which can be a really difficult thing to shake, as you well know. And there can also be impacts on the heart and developing brain. Nicotine increases blood pressure and heart rate and can lead to heart disease and stroke, and really also has the potential to effectively rewire developing brains to make them more prone to addictive behaviors.
Primary Care Alberta offers a program called Alberta Quits. You just call 1-800-710-QUITS, and you can speak with a trained counselor for quitting plans, craving tips, and encouragement. It's available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. There's also a program called Quit Core for people who want to connect with others on a quit journey. You can choose sessions that are in person, online, or by phone. You can also get help by texting AB Quits to 123456. A 38-year-old Medicine Hat man is facing charges in connection with an investigation into a sexual offense involving a youth. Police say between September and December of 2025, the accused allegedly engaged in sexual contact with a youth who was employed by him at a business located in the 1800 block of Strachan Road Southeast. As a result of the investigation, Arpit Dave has been charged with sexual assault and sexual contact with a child. He has been released with conditions and is scheduled to appear in court on February 11th. Police are asking anyone with additional information related to this investigation or the accused to contact the Medicine Hat Police Service at 403-529-8481 and request to speak to a member of the Family Crime Unit. Piikani Nation RCMP are asking for the public's help in locating a man wanted in connection with an assault. Back on December 22nd, Mounties received a report of a known offender repeatedly ramming someone's vehicle with his own before leaving the scene. As a result, RCMP charged a 19-year-old Latrell Andre Brown with 2 counts of assault with a weapon, uttering threats and failing to comply with release conditions. RCMP have been unable to find Brown and believe he poses a risk to the victim or others. Anyone with information about Brown's whereabouts is asked to contact the Piikani Nation RCMP at 403-965-2000 or your local police or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIPS. Lethbridge Polytechnic has signed a 20-year land agreement with the Government of Alberta. The renewed deal allows the institution to continue using its 395-acre research farm east of Lethbridge. The land will support applied agriculture research operations in response to industry needs. The agreement was signed in July by Alberta's Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation, R.J. Sigurdsson.
Lethbridge Polytechnic is leading in ag research. Whether it be irrigation or right down to, the work they're doing with sugar beets right now. With agriculture is our second largest industry. And when we look at diversification of our GDP here in the province, agriculture is a solution to exactly that. As we continue to see the global demand for food grow, one of the best things we can do for an investment right now here in the province of Alberta is expansion in irrigation. And that means more storage and capture of water, as well as modernizing and maximizing on efficiency so our farmers and ranchers can do more within the allocations they have. That's the research that's happening right now in Alberta. That's the work that's happening here today. And I'm very happy to get updates on some of the studies they're doing, both feasibility studies for more storage opportunities and the possibilities for the future of agriculture here, not only in southern Alberta. This is an impact for the entire province.
Having long-term access to a prime piece of research facility really is important. And we really appreciative of the government for giving us this long-term lease. Really makes it very stable and for investment and for continuation of long-term projects. We've been doing agricultural research for just over 35 years and it's been growing fairly consistently over the last 5 years, particularly having the opportunity to look at some key aspects of water optimization, water efficiency. Water is a really important commodity, so having ability to do field scale research that can be applied to industry is really important as well.
In December, a report released by Research Info Source, Inc., a Canadian source of research intelligence, ranked the Polytechnic 9th among the top 50 research colleges in the country. Canada's supply management system, which regulates dairy, poultry, and egg production through quotas, pricing, and tariffs, remains a major trade irritant for the United States. The future of that system was the topic of a public lecture at the University of Lethbridge by Ian Brodie, the first Chief of Staff to former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Brodie is also a political science professor at the University of Calgary. The lecture focused on Alberta's role in supply management amid upcoming trade negotiations with the U.S.
We're about to start a new round of trade negotiations with the Americans. We close our market for dairy and for eggs and for chicken in Canada. This is always an issue whenever there's a trade negotiation with the United States. So as part of the ramp up for negotiations to start this spring, the Smith government, all of the provincial governments are trying to think through what the implications of those trade negotiations might be for the way we regulate, for example, the milk market. Premier Smith has raised some questions in public over the last year about whether the milk marketing system works for Alberta and works for Alberta producers. Lethbridge has a very active agriculture program. How does the government support the agriculture business in Alberta? What does the future of that look like? We've had the same agriculture regulation for milk for the past 40 years. The students can sense that changes are coming, and they're very, very interested in talking about what will that mean for their careers? What will that mean for the future of the agriculture business? Obviously, if Alberta separates from Canada, then we'll be presumably out of the Canadian milk marketing system altogether, and then we'll have to figure out for ourselves how we want to market milk in the future in the province. That's a big challenge because we haven't had that conversation for more than 40 years. So I think we're overdue for a public conversation about this.
Brodie was Chief of Staff from 2006 to 2008 and has worked at the highest level of politics and was a senior member of the team that created the Conservative Party of Canada. He is the author of At the Centre of Government, which offers a first-hand view of the inner workings of the federal government. Before we go to break, one of our viewers near Hinton sent in this darling video of this lovely little guy at a feeder, and I gotta say, what a great idea to put a camera or GoPro on a bird feeder. What a great shot. He doesn't seem to be bothered that much by the cold at all either. Oops, there he goes. Wish I knew what kind of bird that was. If you know, maybe drop us a line and let us know. China's ambassador to Ottawa says Beijing wants to partner with Canadian auto workers to create good jobs and build cheaper cars. The comments by Wang Di come as critics attack Ottawa's agreement with China to import a small number of its electric vehicles. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has called the deal lopsided, while the Union for Auto Workers warned China would quickly seize market share. Wang says Ontario auto workers needn't worry since Ottawa and Beijing want to see investments that build up Canada's manufacturing sector. Retail sales in Canada rose 1.3% to $70.4 billion in November. Statistics Canada says retail sales increased in 8 of 9 subsectors, with food and beverage retailers gaining 3%. Sales at beer, wine, and liquor retailers helped lift the subsector as they rose 14.3% in November. bouncing from a drop of 11.8% in October. That increase came after a deal was reached in BC to end a labor dispute that affected the province's liquor distribution branch. Core retail sales, which include gasoline stations and fuel vendors and motor vehicle and parts dealers, rose 1.6% in November. Looking ahead, StatCan says its advance estimate for retail sales suggests a drop of 0.5% in December, though it cautioned the figure will be revised. The Buy Canadian movement, sparked last year by trade disputes with the U.S., could ramp up again with the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement up for review this summer. As shoppers grew tired of issues ranging from trade rhetoric to food inflation, the Buy Canadian wave shifted to buy anything other than American. Grocery stores began adding maple leaf signs to shelves to indicate products with Canadian ties. Retail experts say it depends on the direction trade talks take, but predictions are very high of it happening once again. Nothing wrong with supporting a little local Canadian producers there. And now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 142 to 33,144. The Dow was down 285 to 49,098. The S&P 500 was up 2 to 6,915, and the Nasdaq was up 65 to 23,501. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up $1.97 to 61.33 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 29 cents to 5.34 US. Gold was up 51.46 to 49.8690 US an ounce, and silver was up $6.85 to 103.01 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $7.48 per bushel. Barley is at $5.88. Canola is at $14.70, and corn is at $7.24 per bushel. Live cattle February contract was up $2.52 to $234.90. Feeder cattle were up $1.07 to $364.80. Lean hogs February contract was down 12 cents to $88.35, and the Canadian dollar was up over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 73 cents US.
Recapping one of our top stories, a former Canadian Olympian, Ryan Wedding, is in custody after being arrested in Mexico. He was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. The 44-year-old from Thunder Bay is accused of running a murderous transnational drug smuggling ring. U.S. officials declined to give details of the arrest, citing the ongoing investigation. Mexico's Security Secretary later said a Canadian citizen turned himself in at the U.S. Embassy. What was it like for a young Canadian woman to move with her husband to work in Libya's oil fields during the reign of dictator Muammar Gaddafi? Well, stay with us to hear Lorene Muir-Heggie's side of the story, as she's written a memoir called Lily of Libya. That is coming up next. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website, bridgecitynews.ca, or our YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our stories and interviews. And please vote for us, Bridge City News, for Best TV Station in the Best of the Best Lethbridge 2026 competition. Just go to mybestofthebest.ca under the heading Entertainment. Scroll all the way down there until you see Best TV Station. We're number 3 on the list. Contest is open until January 31st, and we'd really appreciate your vote.